Where else do you get that comprehensive breakdown of market activities? That's right, this is the place to be, straight off of close of trade for the day. Welcome to Market Pulse on News Central in partnership with Nairametrics. I am Joanna Mustafa, your host, and on the show today, inflation rate dropped at about midday for the first time in 19 months. 33.40% in July. We're seeing inflation inch downwards slightly. Are the poor breathing now, considering the hunger protests that we tracked, earlier this month? Those are questions that we hope to answer. Also on the show, one of the most valuable, aka expensive stocks on the NGX takes a notch further, crossing the 4,000 Naira share price mark for the first time. And also on Spotlight, we'll get you up to speed on with the recapitalization exercise. Fidelity Bank is now has surpassed its targets in the first phase of recapitalization, and Access Bank extended its rights issues by a week. Let's head to the markets, right? It's a penultimate trading day of the week. Will the bulls make an appearance this week? Evidently not, right? We're seeing the market inch downwards a bit. We know that investors have, since the beginning of the week, continued to reinforce their risk-off stance in the equity market space. Fixed income rates remain elevated, so that's another thing. Obviously, another bearish day in the NGX. Market has now declined by 1.51% this week alone, and it's a penultimate. We just have Friday. It's down today 10%. It closed at about 97,100.36, and there was reduced trading with only about 271.25 million shares traded. If we come to the top gainers now, the number of gainers in the market were just 14, right? Nairametrics Pharmaceutical also continued its bullish run, ending today, it's down, up, I beg your pardon, 9.95%, so continuing that bullish run as a top gainer. Total Energies has also climbed by 500 Naira when it comes to share price, mark with a 8.82% gain to close at 511. We're seeing that they're in at number 2. ICO as well, and the rest up there making it as the top gainers for the day. ICO gained 6.54% to close at 1 Naira 14 kobo. Coming to the top losers list, Oando hasn't had a good week, but it's kind of only expected, right? Investors will take profits. Top of the losers list today, down 9.94% to 32 Naira 60 kobo. That's what we're seeing after posting over 60.47 gains last week. We're seeing that decline this week. So yes, ABC Transport as well also lost 9.52%. Sell pressure was high also on livestock feed. We're seeing it there as number 3. Top loser, down 9.09%, now 2 Naira 20 kobo. Coming to the top movers list, Veritas Capital was a top traded stock in the market with 33.38 million shares changing hands, followed by Sterling Bank, ICO as well on that list. RT Briscoe also made the top traded stock list, with GTCO completing that list as well amongst the top traded stocks. Currency, there are no changes in sight for the Naira, as it has steadied at that 1,590 level. Other African currencies are seeing a similar situation. The South African rand also was still at 18, Kenyan shilling 129 to the dollar, Egyptian pound as well around that 48, 49 region to a dollar. So some sort of steady, in the FX region. Joining me for more insight on market activities after this break is the head of securities trading at Planet Capital Limited, Ambrose Odeaba. This is Market Pulse. Right now, we're picking up the pulse of the day with Ambrose Odeaba. He is the head of securities trading, Planet Capital Limited. It's great to have you in, Ambrose.
Okay, thank you, Joanna.
All right. It sounds like you're still muted, but I'm sure we'll figure that out in just a bit. But let's, dive straight in, and, an interesting occurrence today on the NGX. Seplat, one of the stocks worth over $1 trillion market capitalization, crossed the 4,000 Naira share price for the first time ever. That marks a 9% gain in early trade today. Can you give us more details and your thoughts on this milestone and some of the drivers behind it as well?
Okay, thank you. I believe you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So what we saw that happened today in Seplat is a usual thing that usually happen at the opening of the market. We saw few units being matched, okay, but the unit matched was not able to cause a price change. Okay, so at the beginning of the market, between 10 a.m. to around 10:05 a.m. this morning, we saw that little trade match. Okay, trade about 195 units changing hand between the buyers and the sellers, and that's what cost the price above 4,000, specifically 4,020 naira and 4,030 naira. Okay, so what that portrays to the market is also showing investor sentiment and then interest. Okay, the stock presently is around 3,600. Okay, right now. And we also understand the fact that Seplat also in the sector which it play is also a king there. And looking at the numbers for the first quarter this year and then for the first half of 2024, if we crush the numbers for that, you will also dig deep down to the book value and then other metrics, which is pointing towards the performance of the stock on the company.
So it's largely not driven by earning results, right? The earnings of Seplat. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So right. if you look at their first quarter and then the second quarter, right? And then if you do the book value, for instance, the book value of the shares is around 4,200. Okay. So that is also showing that yes, investors are confident in the company. Investors also want to invest in the company. So it's a good thing that is happening. And then the market is also expecting the price towards, that 4,000 plus.
Okay, we'll see how that pans out. But obviously, investors have that confidence in the stock. Another breaking story today: inflation data is out, and it decreased for the first time in 19 months, 33.40%. 40%, I beg your pardon, down from 34.19%. How are you and investors receiving this news, especially considering what it means for return on investments?
Okay, thank you. So for the investors, I think it's a good news, right? Seeing inflation reduced, okay, decreasing for the first time after a while. So about 19 months rather. So for investors, it's a good news. We also hope to see, more activities in the market. But by and large, what this portends is also showing the fact that yes, the purchasing power is also gaining in this case. However, at the current rate of inflation of 33.4% is still high. Okay, while the reduction is a good thing, the investors welcomes it, they're happy with it, but we also expect that going forward it will continue reducing because the current rate of 33.4% is still also high.
Okay, we look forward to seeing that easing is definitely needed here in Nigeria. Finally, before I let you go, it's been a big data week, right? Not just in Nigeria, but in the US as well. We've had, a lot of their data come out, inflation as well, and obviously predicted rate cuts next month, I believe, is being predicted. We've seen inflation data for the United States come down below 3%. Should we expect, would you expect rate cuts, right? And how hawkish do you anticipate them being? And in addition to that, what does that potential rate cut mean for emerging markets like Nigeria and investor sentiments? Would that bring them back to, the continent and all that?
Okay, so if you look at the data, like you rightly mentioned, the inflation rate for the US, okay, trending around 2.9% in July. Okay, as against the 3%, okay, in June. So is well pointing also that the economies are facing a lot of shocks. And then looking at the recent data for the unemployment, the unemployment rate surged also to a 3-year high of about 3.4%, which suggests that the economy may be in recession, and also signal that a modest rate cut could be possible. Okay, so if that happens also, I think if that happens, with whatever rate they are doing as well, what will likely happen is that for the emerging market like that of Nigeria, we'll begin to see, some diaspora inflows. Of course, investors will also want to go to the emerging market where they have a better rate. And in this case, 2-digit, okay, double-digit rates. So we're likely to see inflow. And once the inflow comes to, our own economy, it's also going to impact our capital market, and our stock market will also experience some rallies.
All right, we look forward to seeing that happen. But thank you so much for joining me and the insights. Ambrose Udaba, the head of securities trading at Planet Capital Limited. It's a pleasure to have you join me. All right, up next, let's play catch up on the recapitalization exercise and, the pulling it's having on the pull effect it's having on bank stocks and that bank stocks are having on the NGX. So we're going to get into that conversation up next. David Olujimi will be joining me, so stay tuned. You're still tuned in to Market Pulse, and we're still on this recapitalization matter, with Fidelity Bank concluding the first phase of capital raising and surpassing the 127.1 billion naira target that was set in its combined offer program. Also, Access Holding PLC, who opened their offer July 6th, informed shareholders and the NGX, so Nigerian Exchange Limited, that the period of acceptance list for its rights issue has been extended by a week to August 23rd, 2023. And they cited, the recent nationwide protests that disrupted operations and businesses and individuals across Nigeria as reasons for extension of the exercise that was initially scheduled to close yesterday, 14th of August. So to bring us up to speed with we have financial markets analyst from Nairametrics, David Olujimi, joining me. Great to have you in.
It's good to be back in the studio.
Good to be back in the studio, more often. But let's begin. Fidelity Bank, obviously, they were one of the first in the race in this exercise. They've concluded the first phase. What's your assessment of the performance so far? And do you see other banks also meeting up? So
Fidelity Bank has done well. I would say they've done well. In fact, they got to a stage where they had to extend their offer by an additional about 8.2 billion shares. We don't know if they got to what they planned with the first one and the second one, but they just told us that we've surpassed 127 billion naira capital raise. But we don't know if they got to 201 billion. So basically, what I'll say about Fidelity Bank is that they've been excellent. They've tried. They've done well. To raise the amount of money within considering the amount, considering what we have in the society right now, in Nigeria right now. But for other banks, I would say GT has closed also. They did not seek any extension. I don't know, they've not come up with the results, but I think, and I guess it's been pretty bullish for them, especially with the way they've been going about it, and they've been stalking all of us.
They have indeed.
They've been stalking all of us with it.
But let's stick with Fidelity Bank, right? There are also conversations that, the stock on the exchange hasn't been doing as well of late. So what does this portend for those who bought in and who are holding Fidelity shares?
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter.
How
because
so?
Fidelity Bank did something when they issued their shares, when they came up with the announcement. The share price, the offer price was just a little bit higher. It was just quite higher than the market price. But they were able to boost their market price. Something happened miraculously. Their market price has stayed above, and the market price stayed above the offer price. I think that was one of the driving forces, because when you want to get this Fidelity share, you just look at the market price, look at the offer price. So now they've been able to, at least they've been able to tell you that in the market, our share is trading at 10 naira 50. Today's at 10 naira 5 kobo.
All right.
With the offer, you bought it at 9 naira 75 kobo. So you'll find a balance in between there. Okay. It's still quite. So
the outlook for the stock pretty fair.
The outlook for the stock is bullish, very bullish, in fact.
Bullish. We'll see, right? And we'll be tracking all that and more. I know time is limited. We'll have more time with you perhaps tomorrow on the show in the studio. But yes, that's it for the spotlight today. We'll continue to track recapitalization exercise and the results that do come out. Swiftly, let's head to the African markets now, where predominantly with the markets we cover in the green, right? So Nigeria apparently is the only one in the red. But yes, all greens, loving it. The bulls have the say across the markets we cover in Africa. And there goes our show for today. Thank you for sticking with us. We'll do this again tomorrow. We'll continue to track the pulse of the markets, 4 p.m. West African time every weekday. here on News Central in partnership with Nairametrics, leaving you with what's going on the international markets.